All right, today we're going to peel back the curtain on some of those financial terms you hear thrown around all the time. We're going to talk about the places, the players, and maybe most importantly, the scoreboards that tell us what's going on in the market. You know the drill, right? You're watching the news and the anchor says something like, the market was up today, or the Dow just smashed another record. It sounds like a big deal, but what does that actually mean? What is this mysterious market, and how can we tell if it's having a good day or a bad one? So, to get to the bottom of this, the first thing we need to wrap our heads around is where all this happens. Because, it's not just some idea floating in the clouds, it's a real place, or places where the action is. And that marketplace, we call it a stock exchange. Honestly, just think of it like a giant arena, or maybe the Grand Central Station of finance. It's where ownership in companies, we call those shares, get listed, bought, and sold. It's the hub that brings everyone together. Now, here in the US, there are really two main arenas that dominate the scene. Two titans, if you will. I'm sure you've heard their names a million times, the NYSE and the NASDAQ. But believe it or not, they're actually pretty different from each other. Yeah, these two have totally different vibes. You've got the New York Stock Exchange, the NYSE. This is the old guard, the classic. It's the world's largest exchange by sheer value, and it's famous for that chaotic, iconic trading floor you see in movies. But then you have the NASDAQ. It's the new school, the tech pioneer. It's a completely digital exchange, no trading floor at all, and it's where you'll find a ton of the biggest names in technology. Okay, so we've got the marketplaces down, but think about it. With thousands and thousands of companies trading shares every single second, how on earth do you get a quick snapshot of how things are going? I mean, you can't watch everything at once. You need a scoreboard. And that's exactly what a market index is. It's our scoreboard. See, an index doesn't try to track every single stock out there. That would be impossible. Instead, it cleverly picks a select group of stocks that are supposed to represent the whole market. It's like taking a poll or checking the vital signs to see how the patient, the market, is doing. And when you hear those news reports, chances are they're talking about one of three major indices. These are the big ones, the ones that pretty much everyone has their eyes on. So what are they? Well, first up, you have the S&P 500. It tracks 500 of the biggest US companies, so it's a really good broad look at the market. Then there's the NASDAQ Composite. This one is huge. It tracks every single stock listed on the NASDAQ exchange. We're talking about over 3,000 companies. And then there's the most famous one, the one everyone knows, the Dow. 30, that's it. Yep, the Dow Jones Industrial Average, one of the oldest, most famous scoreboards in the entire world, judges the health of the entire US economy based on how just 30 massive, super influential companies are doing. It's kind of like the market's most exclusive VIP club. Okay, but here's where it gets really interesting. These indices don't just track different companies. They actually crunch the numbers in totally different ways. The how really matters. It all boils down to this idea of weighting. Basically, who gets the biggest say? The Dow is price-weighted. This just means that a company with a higher stock price has more influence on the index, regardless of how big the company actually is. But the S&P 500 is market cap-weighted. This means the biggest companies, the ones with the highest total value, have the most pull. It's a small difference in words, but it's a huge difference in what the number is actually telling you. So we've got the arenas, and we've got the scoreboards. But so what? Why does any of this matter to you or me? Well, here's the punchline. This is where it all clicks into place. The big reason these indices matter is that they give us a benchmark. And a benchmark is just a fancy word for a yardstick. It's the standard you measure everything else against. For anyone investing, an index is like the average score for the class. It tells you what normal performance looks like. So here's how you'd use it. It's super simple. Step 1, the index, say the S&P 500, sets the bar. That's the market's average return. Step 2, you look at how your investments did. And step 3, you compare. Did you do better than the average or worse? That's it. That simple comparison is how you know if you're outperforming or underperforming the market. And this brings us all the way back to that news report we started with. When you hear that the S&P 500 went up, what does it mean? It means exactly this. On average, that basket of 500 big companies had a good day. It's a signal that overall, the market is doing pretty well. So, next time you hear the market is up, you'll know exactly what's going on. The scoreboard is flashing a positive number. But that leaves us with one last really interesting thought, doesn't it?
If an index just represents the average, what does it actually take to do better than average? Now that is something to chew on.